Okay, John Hemming is a member of Parliament in the United Kingdom, and we saw his name in an article from the Mail Online. It's been in all the other big papers we've seen. Mother not clever enough to raise child has baby snatched by social workers after running away to Ireland to give birth. No criminal record, hasn't done anything wrong. Her and her husband are going to have the baby, and because she had a learning disability in school, and I've seen her on the news, she's well-spoken, they just say you can't have your child. Like George Orwell said, in the future, there will be no families. We will take your children as if we take the eggs from a hen. Now, he's got to go away to a vote. So anytime he may leave, and he'll be back in about 10 minutes. He's with us for the rest of the hour. But just like when we have a congressman on, sometimes they've got to run off and vote. But this is an amazing case. But I look at the video cameras being put in newborns' homes. I mean, this is right out of 1984, is it not, sir?
But it's more Brave New World rather than 1984, although there's elements of 1984 in the Ministries of Truth, things like that.
Well, we'll break down the basics of what's happening here.
This is a case from Fife, and what it appears to be is that because the mother was herself at some stage in care of the state, they thought, here's a baby we can take and get adopted. And they thought, well, you know, we've got to stop her getting married, so we'll prevent her getting married by saying she's too stupid to get married, and then we'll take her baby at birth. So they did a runner to Ireland, which is a more pro-family country in practice. There was a difficulty because they ended up in a rush in Ireland, and Fife then jumped up and down and said, this woman's dreadful, she's evil, she's going to be a real danger to her child. And the Irish authorities, not having anything else to work on, took her child into care, but now, in fact, she's with her child in a mother and baby unit.
But no doubt they're creeping around thinking of ways to try to get the child back.
Well, there's sort of 5 people I think would like to do that, but as long as they stay out of Scotland or England, they're reasonably safe. I've got a number of, there's a number of these cases gone on. I've got a case in Turkey at the moment, a couple in Sweden, one in Spain, one in France, and there's about 3 or 4 in Ireland.
And is this people from England fleeing Big Brother?
Mainly England, although there's this one from Scotland. Scotland's not as bad as England. England is completely mad, and Scotland is mad from time to time.
Well, here, they take poor people's children. I've gone and seen it. They say, well, you're poor, so we're taking your child. And then they go and sell them for $500,000 on the market through the adoption racket. But I want to go over...
I haven't managed to get evidence of people paying the authorities in England for them. There is a racket where people make a living out of it in that sense. And one of the things always is to follow the money and see where people are making money.
We also see social workers moving into old people's houses they kick out. We have a lot of that here, too.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to the accountability processes. As soon as you start having secret courts where it becomes a criminal offence for people to say how badly they've been treated, all sorts of misbehaviour goes on.
Member of Parliament John Hemming is our guest. We're going to go to break, sir, and come back to you. How long will your vote take, do you think?
The vote, when it happens, will take me about 3 or 4 minutes. But the problem is, at the moment, it's all about floods, if you're interested. And at the moment, the minister's on his feet talking about the amendment. And then once that's happened, there will be a vote. Whether there'll be a second vote, the second vote will be another 15 minutes after the first vote. I know there are going to be 3 votes between now and 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, we'll just play it by ear and then call you back 10 minutes after you have to leave us. Stay there, though. We're coming back from break. I want you to break down this architecture because the architecture of child snatching in your country is similar to ours. About 2 years ago, I made the statement that I'd covered textbooks used by social workers here in the U.S., as well as Europe, that state the family is a disease belonging to ancient times. We must eradicate it for the state to flourish. We've got to break up the family. And in England now, people that have children at birth, they have to put a camera in the home, watching them, guilty until proven innocent, secret courts. Similar things are being set up here, but a Mail story was also in the Telegraph. Mother not clever enough to raise child has babies snatched by social workers after running away to Ireland to give birth. And they just said because she had a learning disability, they took the child. But thank God, liberal Democrat member of Parliament John Hemming has been championing her and others. He said there is no evidence that Mark and Carrie cannot be good parents, and I just hope that the Irish authorities can resolve this as quickly as possible. There has been a good break in the case, but this is still continuing. So get into the secret courts, the architecture, sir, how this works, and some of the other cases you're facing in England, because I see similar stuff in Australia, U.S., and Canada.
Yeah, the problem we have particularly is to do with the accountability or the quality control on the judgment systems used by local authorities, because here it's the Children's Services Authority, which is either a county council or a metropolitan unitary authority or district council, which makes these proposals. They operate through the family court, so the family court's supposed to look at it. Now, the family court is a court where if you talk about what's happened in the court, you can go to jail, and they do send people to jail for this. Now, I am particularly concerned, for instance, that you're only allowed to have one expert. It's a criminal offence to get a second opinion. So you can only have the expert agreed by the court. You can't get somebody else to look at the papers. And we have situations, for instance, I have one case in Birmingham where an expert was judging whether a mother had the mental capacity to instruct a solicitor. That is, if you don't have the mental capacity to instruct a solicitor, the official solicitor comes in, and what the official solicitor normally does is concede the case against you. It's like, if you're in a criminal court, you're not allowed to plead not guilty. You're actually, somebody comes in and says you're too stupid to say you're not guilty. Well, this sounds Kafka-esque. I mean, this does sound 1984, where it's completely rigged, and our family courts are very, very similar. It's completely rigged. That's the whole point. And if you take the sum total of all applications for care orders by local authorities, and the figures from 2007. If you take the sum total, the application for a care order was only rejected in 0.27% of cases. Now, that's a slight misrepresentation, because sometimes they withdrew the application for a care order. Say that number again. I mean, so out of 100... 0.27%. So out of 100 cases... the parents they won about a quarter of them. So 75% of the time... Not 25 out of 100, but like out of 1,000 winning 27. Oh, my God, so it's less than 1%. No, actually 2.7. 2.7, okay. Yeah, no, it's dreadfully bad. It's less than 1.7. Yeah, it's 0.27%. So 90 plus... About 3 out of 1,000. 3 out of 1,000. So if the government wants your children in England, you have 1 out of 1,000 chance of winning. I mean, just total kangaroo court. It is, and a lot of it's to do with the way they control the expert evidence. And if I take the example of the losing your child through an IQ test, there was a lady who didn't speak English. She came from Asia, and they gave her an IQ test through an interpreter. Now, that inherently makes an IQ test invalid. You can't do an IQ test through an interpreter. It makes the outcome invalid, yet they did that. My God, it's worse than I even thought. I think it's worse here because we had the adoption... I know you had adoption targets, but here we got the formula wrong as well. Well, that's right. Bill Clinton got the law passed where a certain number of children have to be seized every year for the CPS to get their money. That's right, yeah. We have the same thing here. I got rid of those a few years ago, and we caused a fuss about them, but the system's still going wrong. And what's interesting is you find that the way that the system has treated the babies taken into care causes so much psychological damage that a lot of them attack their adoptive parents at around about age 10. Because they have a thing called... And then they get to drug them and say they're special needs, and then more money... The Ritalin thing comes in as well, but very often they just end up going back into care. But it's actually... There was some work done, some very good work done by a researcher called Professor Michael Rutter. He looked at the Romanian orphanages, and what he found, and the long-term effect of being in a Romanian orphanage for a baby. And what he found, which is very interesting, is it didn't really have a long-term effect up to the first 6 months of life. And then the next 12 months, between 6 months and 18 months, was very, very important. Now, what we do in England, we take a lot of children, a lot of babies away, thousands, in the first 6 months, and then they're kept in care for about a year and a half.
And they warehouse them, and it screws them up.
And it screws them up, yeah. And then you have another piece of research in a book called Enhancing Adoptive Parenting, written last year by Alan Rushton and Elizabeth Monk, points out that that what they say, I can read it out if you want, is